Okay, this is Encaron. This is going to be the match between archvenison and orfane. This is a losers bracket match, so whoever loses will be out of the tournament, which, of course, neither of these two good players want. So it will be quite the battle. Of course, we are sponsored by Wormwood Gaming, and we hope the best for the players, and I believe they both have their seek up, so all we need to do is turn into the game, and I'll give them the go-ahead in a second. Alright. And I've given them the go-ahead, so we should hopefully see them starting in any second now. So, once again, archvenison and orfane are both very good players. We have them up on the losers bracket, so the loser of this game is going to be out of the tournament for good, and the winner will continue on and plod on for another time to survive. Okay, finally we've got some corner openings. Adjacent corner opening, which is pretty classic at this point in the game. Nice center. Contrasting center will probably see a split across the middle, or maybe something off that. Archvenison decides to go with a standard center. More split down the center. And of course central, and we'll probably see a capstone soon come right there, but not quite yet. They're not done building their roads. There's the capstone. Of course, playing pretty quickly at this point. Give me a second. I hope the background noise doesn't put things off too much, but I have no control over that. So white places capstone down there. We can see some connections coming down and across. White just plates on B3. So this is a nice delta from white. Alright, so we can see a nice connection from black coming up this way, and white is building across this way. So we might see white. Black decides to capture onto B3, so that's just going to sustain black's line up this way. Black's capstone is sort of out of the game at the moment. It's not really being put into play. Maybe we'll see white's capstone move up onto B3. We might see white interfere at B4 or even play a flat at C3. There is the flat at B4, so hopefully we'll see black play at C3 or something like that, and that would sustain black start, create a nice attack threat, and force white to capture or to play at C6 up here. There's the attack threat. White decides to capture with the capstone, which isn't too surprising, and we can see that white is now developing a road down this way, which is kind of what we were expecting to see. So black probably wants to so we see C2 from white. So once again, we see this nice road threat from white that's coming across this direction. So black is probably going to have to head that off or try to build his own threat. His threat is currently this road that black was building is now nicely blocked off by all of white's stones. So black will have to do something else. Or maybe he'll come down at C1, which will be a nice highwayman / pincer against that, or he'll just capture it from B3 onto A3, which is an interesting play. Maybe black's trying to build up this way. Maybe black is thinking about coming up this way as well. It's kind of hard to say exactly what Orfane is thinking. White plays at a4, sort of heading off this stack and also creating a nice threat on that a3 stack. Black fills in at b3, and white brings in his capstone to bear. So we can still see this nice shape panning out for white. So maybe black's going to fill in at c3, just to prevent white from getting that space. So we'll see what black decides to do. Maybe he'll bring in his capstone from d3, but no, he does fill in with a flat, so we can see this threat coming back into play. White decides to take this nice stack with all these nice captives, and he can just prepare to run down the captives all the way down to a1, and that would be nice, opening up for a good play from white. Black is probably thinking about trying to fill in at b2, but knowing that won't help so much in the long run, he might decide elsewise. So the other thing that black might decide to do is black might decide to play at c6, and once again that would be a attack threat, because that would come through here. And black decides to play at b5 up here, which defends against white's threats, and also sort of builds in this nice road coming across this way. Once again, I apologize for the background noise. I have no control over that, but hopefully you can still hear me. White just moved over his capstone onto c3, so he has a nice road building this way and killed black's burgeoning road threat. Black might decide to play at e4 or even e3 at this point. We might even see an e2 play just to defend against white's road here. Black decides to play at a3, which is an interesting play. It's only interesting because I'm not sure what it does for him. White extends his road up this way, so now white's actually making a road threat this way as well, which black kind of heads off by capturing at b3. Now black actually has a threat that's coming up this way, so if black plays at b6, a capture from c4 onto b4 would make a tack. So we can see some potential there. Maybe white's going to spread across onto from c3 with his capstone. White moves at e4, so we can see this nice road threat developing across the 4 rank, and then the capstone would need to go there. So now black captures, and that's a tack threat. So now tack is either here or here, so white needs the capture. Archvenison needs the capture at this point to block black. He can capture here, or he can capture over with his capstone, which he does. So there's the capture with the capstone. How many? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's exactly 6 stones underneath that white capstone. The 6th being a white stone, so he could technically leave that behind. But after that, he'd be hard-pressed to do anything with that large stack. Black brings in his own capstone to bear, blocking White's capstone from coming back over this way, but it's still useful for something. White is continuing his threat across the 4 rank, so we can see that all White needs to do is jump over with his capstone and potentially win. Black's capstone is in a position where he can come over and fill in. So Black plays at d3, which looks like what he's trying to do is trying to build something across this way. Or maybe even like this. It's a bit hard to see what Orfane is going for, but he's definitely trying to contest White's road. And there's attack threat. So all White needs to do is jump his capstone down onto b4. So Black can come up with d3 onto d4, or even move his capstone up. Either of those would be valid moves at this point. There's the capstone, and we can see a nice citadel from Black. Thanks to Rabbit Boy, of course, for the invention of the term citadel. So we can see that Black kind of has a road threat coming across this way, and maybe even down this way. So we'll have to see how that develops as the time goes on. So in terms of time, archvenison is doing quite a bit better. He's at 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Orfane is down to 10:30. So, but they're both above the 10 mark, so they both have plenty of time. So hopefully we'll see planned out plays and nice strategic plays, as opposed to just trying to play quickly and and we can see a nice new attack threat coming up from White. So White's threatening up this way. So I would have actually expected to see White play here instead of f3, because then you could expect this capstone to fly over onto f3 as completion. That would be a good play. And it's kind of tricky to see, but he did choose to play at f3 instead. But we would expect White to play at f2 or even d6 in the future. So Black might want to get in there right now, just to get ahead of the game and also build his own threat this way. So, but Black's coming up at the other end of the board with this d6. So we can see that Black's still eyeing a potential threat. It's not quite there yet, but it also does block White's threat. But White can easily counter that with a flat either at e6 or at c6. There's the flat at e6. So this is threatening to capture the d6 flat. Black might just create a new flat at e5, which would build this way and would simultaneously defend against White's threats and would just generally be good play. So we'll see if that's what Black decides to do. Oh, Black decides to throw down a wall. That's a nice defensive play. So that is nice hard stop to White's road. But that is attack threat from White, so Black needs to capture. So he might decide to take the wall down across. Well, he can't take the wall across, so he can take it down. There's moving the wall down. But now we might just see a White flat there, and there's the White flat. That's attack threat. So there's the wall back over. So that's the defense. So can White lure the wall down here? Which would be... So White is now going for a threat across this direction. So Orfane needs to keep that in mind. Orfane probably wants to play at b2 just to prevent White from doing so. But White could, in theory, jump on top of that, but then the capstone would be pretty much immobile, which would not be that great for White. So we'll have to see what black decides to do, but another wall down, one at e3. That's a nice hard defensive play, but in the end it's going to cost him. White quickly responds by playing attack threat. White defends by bringing the wall down. So we can see these were pretty calculated plays, and this is nearly attack threat. Coming up through here, or even coming up through here. So black needs to start filling things in. Maybe we'll see another wall from black, or maybe we'll see a flat. But either way, white is in control of this game. Black makes a play, and does not look like attack threat, but it looks pretty good for black. All black needs to do is connect up at b6, and that would be attack threat. So we'll have to see what archvenison decides to do. Archvenison might decide to make his own threat. There's the threat. So that is tack. It's tack this way. It's tack across. Well, it's primarily tack this way. It's not quite attack this way. That would be interesting. So black needs to do something. He can't move this over here. He could place down a new wall at e4. He could capture, but that would just be a delay. He can't capture down this way. He could capture over this way, but he can also capture down this way with his wall, which is what he decided to do. So that wall stack is looking very attractive for white to come down and just crush. So white is probably looking to play f4, and that would be attack threat. It would be a very sneaky attack threat, and hopefully we'll see something like that. So I would expect to see f4. Or that's what I would play here, because that would be a fun move to play. And then we would probably have to see either this wall come over or this wall come over. Something along those lines. So just to reinforce just how sneaky this is, the flat would go down there, and then this capstone would jump here, jump here, jump here, leave all the rest of the stones here and crush this wall, and that would be tack. And that's an exciting tack to see. That's definitely has style. But it's not the most likely to happen. I think black could definitely see it coming and can defend against it, but I would still love to see f4 just to force black into a situation where he needs to defend against it. And once he's got f4 down, that's a nice control over this top right, this northeast corner of the board. archvenison is just thinking, does he see something that I don't? There's not currently a attack threat on the board. Not one that I see, so archvenison is just considering his options. And he has the time to do so. So let's see what he does with his time. And he's been definitely putting on his thinking cap. And this is the type of position where you want to be thinking out your moves well ahead, because black could easily come out. Black does have potential road threats coming up this way and coming up this way. So white does kind of need to be a bit cautious. But at the same point, white does have the advantage. And there is f4. So that is tack. So will black see it? Or will black just make a misplay? which would be a shame to see, but this is a tough one to spot. But at the same time, it's one that seasoned players, and especially ones like archvenison and orfane, should be able to spot. So we'll probably see this wall come down or this wall come across. I'm not entirely sure which is better. But either way, we need to see some defense against this. We might even see this wall come back up. But that would just result in a fill-in here. And that would just go back and forth and would not be good for either player. Of course, then I would go to no hets maxim, which is try not to have a repeated situation that much. And try to develop novelty. And novelty can be good. Sometimes it can lead to tinue, and sometimes it can lead to non-tinue. And there's the stack up. So black did see and catch that, but white can just easily come back in, plays at f3 or even at e4, and those would again be tack. So if white plays at f3, then white would just need to capture back down, and then we could see that whole thread again. And eventually, black would run out of stones to keep doing stuff, so black would need to capture down that way onto f2. So I'm not sure that was the best move for black, but maybe there's something else in play, in store. Did white move somewhere? White moved at d1. Oh. White had moved here, and there was... It wasn't quite a attack threat there, so I must have missed that, but d3 up. But now we could come see it at f3, we might see d3, we might see e4, which would connect both directions, here and here. But then, of course, we could see the wall come over, or the flats at d4 come over. So either way, this is not attack threat from black. It's close to being attack threat. We can see that were this connected, even if it were connected this way, then it would be attack threat. But it's not quite attack threat from black. So white still has tempo. So we'll have to see what white decides to do. I would still be tempted to play this, because that would be tack this way and tack this way. And then we could follow up with something like f3, and then have a nice line of attack, pun intended, down there, across the east-west, across the 2 and 3 ranks. So white is definitely thinking. Maybe he's seeing some lines of play that I'm not. Maybe he does not want to repeat this f3 move. But, oh, there's d3, so that is tack. It is tack up this way. So black does need to capture or come in this way, or even could play a flat. But that would give white attack coming across this way, which is probably what white was looking to do. So even if white plays something here, black places something here, white can come across this way. Oh, and there's the wall. So we'll probably see f3 from white, but then we can, even if we see e2 up, we can see a fill-in coming across here, and that would not be very good for black. So my guess is that white wants to play f3, and that would be tack across the 2 and 3 ranks. No, but we do see it at E1, which is still tack across the 1, 2, and 3 ranks. So that is tack. So black does need to defend. And coming down with the wall isn't going to be enough. So black needs to probably capture. Even capturing down here isn't enough. So coming across here is temporarily okay, but playing at C1 would be a new tack threat. So I would not be surprised to see C1 at the moment. We might even see E2 just as a fill-in, but that would not be tack, and it would be a bit slow in the tempo line. So I would expect to see something more aggressive from archvenison at the moment. Archvenison does have the advantage. Archvenison has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 flats to black's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 flats. So archvenison is definitely in the lead there. The times are getting quite down. Both of them are hovering around like 7 minutes. 8 minutes and 30 seconds for orfane, 7:30 for archvenison. And archvenison plays 5b3 across, and so moves the capstone over, so that is attack threat. So that that section at C1 needs to be played against. He can just play a flat there and defend against it, which he does. But archvenison probably has something up his sleeve. But now this stack is entirely of captives, so that's a pretty weak capstone for white. So he won't be able to make too much use of it anymore. But hopefully he'll still be able to do some stuff. But what the other thing this did do is this did block off this road threat from black. So that wasn't a bad move. And I'm going to move this down. So there's B1 from white. So that is attack threat. So B1 captures or C2 captures. So really what black needs to do is needs to come in and capture at B3 or B2. Either of those would help black and protect him from losing immediately. But you have to also consider that white is looking to make attack threat across this way. So now white can just put down a flat on C3, and that would be a new attack threat across the 3 rank. So white has all the control here. So as we saw, black did come down here, and now there's no... White can't just come down here. This also does kind of build a black threat up this way, but it's not going to be sustained very quickly because there's this C3 play. There's the attack threat. And keep in mind that F2 can jump on top of F3. So black can't just play a flat there. There's also attack threat this way. And there's the capstone down, which is probably the right move. So now black has a nice presence in the center of the board with captives and has shut down white's road threats for the most part. So that was a very good play for black. So the question is, how is white going to manage his potential lead? Is he going to go towards a flat game, which he can because he only has 2 flats left? So he could just play both of them and win on flats, potentially. So black still has a lot of flats in reserve, so anything that white does, he can potentially rush the end game here just on flats. And there's a flat play. That is attack. That is not attack threat. I wanted that to be attack threat, but it's not. It's almost attack threat this way, and it's almost attack threat this way. Both pretty zigzaggy. And it's almost attack threat this way. So that's a pretty good placement for that white flat. And it gets in the way of black's road. So black probably wants to capture on top of that, but which would be attack from black. And then white would be forced to defend, and maybe with a wall. So we'll have to see what they do here. White. So black does play at b6, so that is attack threat from black. So all black needs to do is come over with his stone from... And there's the flat game. White does win on flats. So that is the first game. And we're going to take a bit of an intermission and see if the players want to take a break or not. Alright, players are setting up game 2, and we'll give them a go-ahead. Alright, so hopefully we'll see them get started in a second. So we see an adjacent corner opening with a center play again. So orfane is white now, and archvenison is black. So we see a nice split across the middle. We'll probably see, yes, there's d4. That's an interesting ladder from orfane. I would have expected to see something a bit more aggressive, but I guess he wants to be a bit defensive here. I mean, that's not bad. That does kind of connect these, but the tempo would have been to keep on pressing with either e3 or b3. Of course, then we would have probably seen a pincer highwayman, but either way, it's black's turn. We might still see a capstone. There's the capstone. I was expecting it at c2, but it came at b3, which does attack the b2 and c2 stones, and is probably planning to come over right onto c3. So white comes out and continues to extend this way. Black comes in and is now looking to come and build a threat down this way or down this way. White comes up and creates a nice bit of a highwayman, bit of a contiguous thing, and it's looking to capture on top of here. But now black has defended, so now white comes here, black comes here, white comes here, black comes here. So black has control over that square. Of course, if black starts to capture by moving on to his own spot, then white has control. But black would probably not do that. So it's unlikely for black to do that. So white actually brings out his own piece. I'm not really sure what Orfane is thinking here, but he clearly has a plan in mind. Maybe he's thinking to come across this way, but black just fills in. So black has a nice thread that's coming across the forward rank, and there's white's capstone just blocking it, and also blocking black's capstone from getting in the mix. But black's capstone can just come in onto c3, and then we would see a nice road thread potentially down this way, or even down this way, and black is building onto c5. So archvenison is building some nice territory here. We might see white come across onto c4. White defends on d6, so this protects the d5 stone, but that's not probably what black is thinking. Black is thinking to come across onto b5, which he does, and b4 across. So there's the capstone captured. That was attack threat, and that was the defense against the attack threat. So now black might come in and b4, or actually he decides to come in at d2, which is not quite what I was expecting. So we might see black's capstone come into play pretty soon. There's white's capstone. Well, white plays at e2, so you can see that white's developing a threat down this way with white's capstone coming into play. So black is defending against that. But we can easily see white can respond with f1 or d1. F1 is probably a bit better for white. But we might even see f2, because that would be a nice threat across this direction, that zigzag. 4, 3, and 2 ranks. So white does actually play the f2. There's the f2. So we can see that it's both going this way, across the D, E, and F, and going across 2, 3, and 4. So black will need to maybe come in at b4. Maybe black will come in at f1. That would provide a nice threat across 1, 2, and 3. And I keep using the adjective nice, but everything in tack is nice. It's of the Lethani, shall we say. And there is indeed f1, so we'll probably see white respond by creating d1, and that would be a delta. It would also attack e1, so we would see potentials, but no, we actually see b4 from white. So Orfane decides on b4. So that is attack threat. So black does come in and attack on c3. And now black's in a position to come on to d3 with his capstone as well. So both capstones are nice and central at the moment, which is definitely of the Lethani. And so now we see this nice line down across B, and it might even hopefully connect up to D. So we can see this potential line right down this way. So, plus black's capstone can't really come back down across onto b3 anymore, because if he did, then that would be a nice potential attack threat. So, archvenison is thinking. Maybe archvenison wants to move on to d1. That's probably not the right move, but it's a move. b1 would be an okay move, I think. I'm really not sure what the right move is here. Black does have a presence going across this way, so maybe playing it a5 would be the right play for black. But it's kind of hard to say. And black decides to play f5. I wasn't really expecting that, but it does provide some support up here with black's other pieces, and is potentially attacking e5, but I don't think that's what it's doing. So white is up, so white can come over with his capstone, white can come up with his capstone, white can come down with that, which is what he did. That is indeed a tack threat, so we can see a nice zigzag tack threat. So tack, 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 tack. So any of those locations, and black just comes up across with his capstone. White can come down with a flat again, and that would renew the tack threat. So it's not immediately helpful, but it helps. So we do see a new tack threat, and it is going in two directions. So it's coming down this way, and well, there's no tack threat coming down that way. I thought that there was, but there is a tack threat coming down D, C, B, and then potentially A. So black is probably going to come up with his capstone, because then we would have that. Yep, there's the up with the capstone, and now dropping off here and here, or something like that, or just even playing a flat here or here for black would be tack again. So white is definitely going to be thinking here. Maybe white wants to fill in that newly emptied space. That wouldn't be tack, but it would regain some control over the center. It wouldn't defend against this, so that wouldn't help too much. But white's capstone can come in and interfere if it really needs to. So Orfane did play d3, so maybe he's listening to my commentary, or maybe I'm psychic. But in all seriousness, we can see that white is trying to redevelop this tack threat across the center of the board. So will black get to the tack threat first? Will black play a5 or b6, forcing white to defend? And that would put white on the defensive, and would give black the ability to potentially commandeer this game and take the game. Both players have been playing very well so far. So we're just waiting on archvenison. Archvenison is definitely a thinker and likes to make calculated moves. But so we might see something like b6 or a5, as I said before, or we might see something a bit else out of the ordinary. We might see f3. But there is a5, that's what I was expecting, and there is the tack threat. So all black needs to do is spread up. So we might see that capstone come up, we might see b4 come up. Either of those are fine moves for white. Neither of them are amazing, but they're both good. So the question is, what is black going to do now? So black could spread his capstone over. Sorry about that. It's fortunate that nothing happened anyways. Let me just check that. And there's c3 from black. So let's see. So c3. So we can see something potentially developing this way from black, or even up this way from black. And also, protected against this threat from white. So that's always good. But that is still a threat from white. So that is attack threat. But it's not substantial because black can come and just put his capstone on top of c4. So it's not going to win white the game, but it is a pretty solid attack threat. Black could alternatively come down from b5 onto b4. And there's the capstone move, but he didn't leave behind a piece, so that's a bit odd, but I guess there was some extra planning. So black now has some potential to come and build attack threat this way, which we might see. White might be looking to place a flat on d4 or c1. C1 would probably be okay, just to protect against black's imminent attack threat. d4 would not be attack for white, but still has some interesting properties. So he does play d4. This does not look like attack threat. And even this way, it's not quite attack threat. It's almost one, but it's not quite. So we do see d1. So that is attack threat this way from black. So that is a nice, well, that is a very zigzaggy and long attack threat. And there's the capture. So there's no longer attack threat. And that is very close to being attack threat from white. White just needs to reestablish a flat there. So black is probably just going to put a flat right back there, fill in that gap. We might see black come down with his capstone, but we'll have to see. A wall. That's actually probably the right move. I'm personally very reluctant to play walls, so I don't really have a good prediction of like when they'll be played. But a wall here is pretty solid. We might see it come up here and take the c3 square, but it definitely does protect against this b3 square. So white needs to come up with a new plan of attack. And it's not going to happen easily here. White decides to come up and play f2 minus, which is again attack threat from white. All white needs to do is throw from f1 onto e1. Or even just connect at f2. Either of those would be attack. So what black probably needs to do is come up with e2. Needs to come across here or here. There's a couple options. Can come up here. Not sure which one I would play. If e1 goes up to e2, then we might see an f2 in response, and that would be renewed attack threat. Then we might see an f3 in response, and that would block the attack threat temporarily. But then we might see f2 capture. So there's a couple lines that are potential there, but e4 is going to come across and take that. So looks like he might be trying to build again towards attack threat this way. So what white wants to do is just to come right in the middle of that. So I would not be surprised to see e4, and that would be again attack threat down this way. And of course this way. but we might just, if we see e4, we might just see f4 come across and capture e4. So it's kind of a moot point. That is the tack threat. That's not the tack threat I was expecting, but all white needs to do is fill that in. White also might be looking to place a piece here and then come over with his capstone, and that would be a nice capstone crush tack. So there's a couple potentials for white. Black is a bit more limited, but there is the tack threat from black. So all black needs to do is spread, but white is probably just going to take somewhere. Here would be a tack threat, here would be a tack threat. So we will have to see what happens. So our players are definitely coming down a bit on time. Orfane has 9 minutes, which is very close to the starting point, but archvenison is down at 7.5 minutes. There's the capture. Capture is down, and this is still a tack threat, so black does need to come in and do something. And coming this way doesn't really help black all that much. Capstone spread, so that cuts off that almost entirely, but kind of loses the nice tack thread that we were going for across the 4 and 5 ranks. So maybe black will try to play a4 next. So it's very possible that we will see something like f3 or a4 from white. Not sure what else white wants to do here at the moment. Maybe even a b6 from white, just to capture down onto b5. But it's probably not my first choice. Capstone spread back. Capstone is getting back in the game, and that is a tack threat from white. So black brings over the wall to defend, and that's coming scarily close to a tack threat from black. So if he fills in at f6, then black needs to spread across, and that would be tack. So that's a bit sneaky. And that's something, so white can't come down and crush this, because then that would leave all of these nice black captives able to spread north, and that would be tack. So white is probably looking to place a flat at b3, and that would kind of build a tack threat up this way. Alternatively, white wants to capture from d3 onto d2, because that would prevent this wall from making tack. And it would also build white's own tack threat across this way. Not sure what Orfane wants to do here. Orfane decides to play at f6, which, of course, taking your opponent's spot is always a good strategy. But we might just see e6 in response, because that would be able to take f6 and make a tack threat. And that would be... But that's not a bad play. We can see that this is also it's not really developed because there's lots of black pieces in the way there. There's also no real development this way. So white's roads are kind of dead at the moment. There's not really that much potential, and especially with black being able to come across here, I'd say black is in a slightly better position. So archvenison might just win this game. Black makes attack threat. It's kind of hard to see. But if I rotate the board up, you can see this attack threat from black. So now white is on the defensive again. And I'm going to navigate this down a bit, but hopefully you can still see that attack threat in the back there. And white places his flats. I'm going to rotate again. And so you can see that interferes right in the middle, building a nice bit of a ladder. You can see a bit of a delta. There's the delta, there's the ladder. Well, it's a broken ladder, but it's still there. We might see attack threat by playing at c6. And that would also provide leeway for black to come onto d6. And there's the c6 play. So that is attack threat. All black needs to do to win at the moment is throw c6 down. So we might just see this capstone come up. But that wouldn't be quite enough because then c6 would come on to d6 and that would be a new attack threat. We see this e5 stone come across. So that is kind of actually building a nice potential threat from white. So black needs to be a bit careful here. But what black might decide to do, he might bring his capstone up. That doesn't look too good because white can just return with his capstone. Black might just decide to throw the wall now, which probably isn't the right idea either. So what does archvenison want to do? So let's see. It looks like archvenison might just want to get in the way of something here, like at e6, just to prevent that from happening, and then build the attack threat down this way, or maybe come in at e5, and that same idea. So I kind of like e6. That would be my play. Because then you could attack the f6 square and also have the potential to fill in at e5. So a couple of options there. So plus it would give some leeway to coming across this way and then the throw this way. So building up, I wouldn't necessarily build up for the throw from d4 up to d6 or even up to d5, but that would be fine. There's a d5 play, not quite the one I was looking for, but still valid. We can still see a line going this way, and we can still see a line coming across on the 5 rank. So, but white can make attack threat now by playing at e6, which is probably what white is going to do. So there's the attack threat coming right across this way. It's not attack threat down this way, but what can you do? But we'll probably see c6 come down to c5 and break that up, and make attack threat right across this way. or we'll see the capstone come up. There's the capstone. That is attack threat. It's only attack threat this way. But we'll probably see this capstone come right over and spread onto here. That would be my guess, and that would break up that threat. Oh no, the capstone can't come this way, because of course this comes down and that would be a win. So, he can't capture here, can't capture here, could capture here, but then you would fill here. There aren't that many options for Orfane to make a move. Can't capture here, can't capture here. So, can't wall there. So there aren't very many options, really. I think the only real option is for white to come up here, white to come up here. Or white to come this way. Oops. But once again, we might just see b6 played, and that would renew this attack threat. Or we could see c5 played, and that would be the attack threat this way. But my bet would be on b6. But maybe there's a good reason to do one over the other. So archvenison is getting a bit low on time. He is under 5 minutes, at just under 4.5 minutes actually. And black comes up this way, and that is attack threat. Coming this way and this way across the board. So all black needs to do is play a flat at b6. So white could just play a flat at b6 and that would be fine. This is a lot of captives that black has. So that is kind of a weak capstone from black. But at this point in the game, I think black pretty much doesn't really need to have his capstone be quite as strong. So, white is definitely going to take his time thinking, but I would probably just suggest playing b6. We might see a wall come down at b6 as well. Wall at c5 would not do anything good. Umbrab says it's Tinue, but I don't see the Tinue. Black makes a road this way. Oh, I didn't see that road. Ah, the one that I saw earlier and then forgot about. Throwing the wall, of course. So that was a double road. And that probably was Tinue, because white couldn't have gone this way, so there was no defense. So that was another win from archvenison. So archvenison goes on and stays in the game, and Orfane loses and goes and is out of the running. Sorry to Orfane, but it was very well played. Good fight until the end. It's very good games on both players' accounts. I'm pleased to see that we had good games, and a big thanks to our players. Big thanks to Wormwood for the sponsorship. Big thanks to Ben Wojcinski for letting me stream and for giving his support for all he does for TAC. And just in general, this was a good set of matches. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm going to sign off.